For as long as Payton Thorne continues to struggle, it all falls on Hugh Freeze.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zach Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. This one might be a tougher one. Like you just woke up and wanted to just dwell in what we got to see on Saturday. Darrell, Daprich, Montgomery radio legend, hanging out with us, still just confused by Auburn losing 21-14 to Cal. And yes, there's a lot of things that went wrong. But until, whatever Payton Thorne does, like Hugh Freeze has made it clear, Darrell. Hugh Freeze has made it clear that he is going to do everything he can to remain linked to Payton Thorne. I mean, just going over what he said at the press conference to the media, it's just like everything that Hugh Freeze has done is continuing to link himself to Payton Thorne, not just for this year, but that's how the first leg of his Auburn tenure is going to be remembered.
Well, absolutely. He has hitched his wagon to Payton Thorne, and I'm just going to tell you straight up, Zach, he's going to live or die with that decision. Number one, he's got ownership because that's who he handpicked to go get in the portal last year as his quarterback. Number two, he chose not to get a portal quarterback in the offseason and still felt like he could ride or die with Payton Thorne. And now, when Payton Thorne struggles in game 2 against a Power 5 opponent, he doesn't make the quarterback switch. He stays with Payton Thorne. And when asked in the press conference what kind of evaluation needs to be done on whether or not, he says,
"This is it to me.
I got to look at the film and decide because 3 of the interceptions were not his fault because he wasn't protected well."
At what point?
False.
At what point will we quit making excuses for this level of play?
It's so schizophrenic because Payton Thorne can throw a 57-yard dime for a touchdown pass last week, and Freeze is in his pants, just drilling him, yelling at him, angry, blistering him because he didn't protect himself on an RPO. Then he looks like a junior varsity quarterback today, and he defends him in the press conference. It's so double standard. It's a contradiction. It's confusing. And look, I'm just going to say it. No, 2 of the interceptions weren't his fault. The tip ball and the ball that he got hit on. The other 3 were horrific throws, and they were his fault. So you can't make excuses. Bad decisions.
And we're counting the one that he got bailed out on with the pass interference call in the end zone where Auburn eventually scored, right? You're counting that one? Yeah, because that was a terrible throw. That should not
have been 6 then. Then that would have been the number 6. No, I didn't count that one. So you're right. That's another one that he got bailed out that should have been a pick.
He threw 4.
He threw 5.
He threw 5?
Yeah.
Mm-mm. No, he threw 4.
No, he threw 4, and there was a fumble.
It was 5 turnovers. Jarquez was the 5th one.
Yeah. So the 5th one I'm talking about is the one that he got bailed out on with the pass interference. Correct.
Yeah, because to me, that one was the worst of them. Yeah. And I'm like, I saw the replay. I'm like, that was not pass interference, but thanks, I'll take it. But goodness gracious, that was a disgrace. Like, that was just, you can't say publicly that the expectations for Auburn need to be higher, but still be okay with this level of play at your quarterback position. You can't do both. You can't do both.
I really am interested in your opinion on the point. Is it confusing? Is it just me? Am I just the one that's off base here where I'm confused as to how you coach somebody up so intensely when you're winning and he's making pretty good decisions, but you just make excuses when he plays poor? I'm very
we all know this.
By that.
I mean, the great quarterback, every quarterback in the NFL, and look, a lot of the quarterbacks that play, the Power 4 level football, in practice, they can make all the throws. It's what happens mentally that separates these dudes from one another. And some of that is processing, information with the speed of the game. Some of it's just overall intangibles and moxie and swag and confidence. People call it different things. And to me, like, the ESPN2 camera work I thought was actually pretty interesting because they just had a camera on Payton Thorne the entire game. And every time something happened, it was an incomplete pass. just zoomed in on him, and he'd like look over to the sideline. It's like, give me answers. Give me answers. And it's like, they're talking to you in the helmet, dude. Like, you're the quarterback. You're the face of this program. You're a captain. You represented this team at media days. Like, you can't look lost on the field. That's your job. And he does, Darrell, and he does every single time it's a tough situation. When they go to Arkansas last year and rout the Razorbacks, when they go to Vandy last year and take care of Vandy, everything's great. Everything's good and everything's clicking, and he's got that swag. And it's like, cool, here's the Payton we want to see. But then when New Mexico State comes to town, or it's a situation, like we saw yesterday, when it's a tough physical game against Cal, even the Cal game last year, where you get punched in the mouth a little bit, the great quarterbacks say, hey, I'm above all of this because I'm going to find a way to beat you. Does anything about Payton Thorne and how he played yesterday when the game was close say, yes, this dude's going to find a way to beat him? Not a chance.
No, it's the old cliche that he looks great when everything's going great. But the minute there's a hint of adversity, he does not rise to the occasion. Now, look, there are some things that Hugh Freeze said that were factual. He didn't get protected worth a crap. He didn't have time to throw. Cal made some adjustments in the second half and really, he got sacked 3 or 4 times. He had to hurry throws. Hugh Freeze said, and I agree, there were receivers running free in the secondary, and Thorne could not get him the ball because of time. Okay, I get that. Change it up then. Change it up. Do different routes. Get the ball out in 2 steps.
The whole purpose, I'm sorry, Darrell, to cut you off, but I'm heated up again. The whole purpose of what makes Hugh Freeze's RPO-based offense effective is it's quick. You make decisions and you get the ball out of your hands. Look at what they did late. Payton would get the ball and he threw it, and when I played high school ball, they called it a flare route. He gets the ball and he gives it to Malcolm Simmons, and he's got another receiver over there, and he gets 10, 15 yards, however much that was. Or he had a quick one to Robert Lewis towards the end. He had a quick one to Damari. That was a 2 or 3 yard gain. These drive starters that move, like help you move the sticks on 2nd or 3rd down. It's like, where was that? Where was that the entire game? And so to me, it's not just the offensive line. It's not just a protection thing, Darrell. This is scheme, and that's on Hugh Freeze, and you have to know that if you're the head coach.
Absolutely. That's your responsibility from a schematic standpoint on how to attack the defense. You're absolutely right. The way Auburn ran the ball in the second half, coming out in the shadow of their own end zone, you're going, where was this in the first half? I don't know. Cal may have changed some fronts, but I asked the question. This is the biggest indictment. With 6 minutes and 30 seconds to go and Auburn down 2 scores in the red zone, they ran the clock down, the play clock, for 3 consecutive snaps to 3 or 4 seconds. Why? You need 2 scores. Hurry up. And guess what? The hurry up was working.
It was.
They were effective with the no huddle hurry up. It was working. Why do you slow it down? And he said, well, I must have missed that. That's not acceptable. He said, I think it was the different fronts that Cal was presenting with us in the red zone. We wanted to make sure we had the right play called, so we were signaling in later. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable.
The feel for the clock was wild to me, because I'm so glad you asked that question, because I was thinking the same thing watching it. But then even when they were going to try to tie it up, and he ultimately threw that pick because they threw it to an injured Cam Coleman. I just can't get over that. But it's like, okay, well, I know that they were trying to hurry up, but it's not like there were 30 seconds left. They had over 2 minutes. Like, there was enough time to get an injured receiver off the field.
And still use the middle of the field. There was plenty of time to still use the middle of the field where KLS was running free, and you could get 15, 20 yards and still have under 2 minutes and be more manageable. It was a panic throw and a panic call and poor clock management. And I'm going to tell you right now, I expect better from a coach that's known to be an offensive-minded coach. If you can't do better than that, then what the crap do you have an offensive-minded head coach for? I'm not saying Hugh Freeze isn't the answer. I still believe this is a good football team. I still believe this team's got a lot of talent.
That's what makes
I
it
still believe,
frustrating.
but you better go get one now that you were expected to lose, because the whole complexion of this season changes when you just thought you were going to be 3-0 going to Arkansas, and you're not. You better win one you're not supposed to win to get to that 8 or 9 mark threshold, and that is very disappointing.
Can Auburn fix the offense moving forward? There's a few issues. There's a few hurdles with this. We jump into that in just a moment, right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at 5 Hour Energy. We love 5 Hour Energy. Man, drinking one right now. I'm drinking one right now. You can go to 5hourenergy.com. That's the number 5hourenergy.com. They got all sorts of products, not just the shots. They've got the energy drinks too, which I am enjoying. But Darrell, if you had to imagine a 5 Hour Energy flavor that would just be super satisfactory and delicious, what would you go with?
Mine's different than Charlie Five's. We're just different. We're different guys. I like fruit punch, that tropical fruit punch thing. I like that one better.
Okay.
Right now, I want to envision being on a beach in a hammock with some palm trees swaying. Kind of cool. And so that's the one that does it for me.
Understood. So you go to 5hourenergy.com. It's the number 5hourenergy.com. It gets a 5 Hour Energy product today. You can use our code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. The offer is only valid until September 30th. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. All the everydayers out there. Boy, y'all let me know a lot yesterday where I was wrong on everything from this week. I appreciate that. So when you look at, can Auburn fix the offense? It's not just one thing. I think a lot of it's scheme. I think a lot of it's just consistency at every level of the offense. A lot of it's quarterback. But like, it wasn't all Thorne. Like, I don't think the play calling helped him out. I think there's different degrees of like being critical of the O-line. I'm not there. I don't think the O-line was like I think there's probably 2 or 3 issues that need to get mentioned before the offensive line on Saturday. I might be in the minority on that, but we can talk that through if you want to, Darrell. But to me, it's even the receivers weren't consistent. Like Rivaldo Fairweather on that third down, like he needed to catch that ball.
16-yard gain. If he doesn't, you probably score. You're in the red zone. And how big is that?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
huge.
sorry.
And at that point,
in a
one-score
game, in a one-score game, those are big. There was a couple of drops. The offensive line at times was a freaking turnstile. Part of it was too tall. Miller was hurt, so you got to consider that. Connor Lew, who I love, 1st and goal from the 2. You take a false start penalty. Those kind of things. Look, it's not just that. Yeah, Cal had more penalties. This is how you fix the offense. Cal had more penalties. But it's the inopportune penalties when they happen. And I don't care who you are, how you're executing. Let's just look at the bottom line. You turn it over 5 times, you ain't beating anybody in a Power 5. So the first thing you can do to fix the offense is try to get on the positive side of the turnover ledger, cause one yourself, and quit. Auburn is what? 7 turnovers on the year now, and I don't think they've caused a turnover. They're -7. That's horrible. Horrible. So the first thing is quit turning it over. And, variety of reasons to turn it over. Jarquez Hunter was trying to gain extra yards. He got stood up, fumbled. But look, inopportune penalties.
Like 5 turnovers, Darrell?
Yeah.
Like that seems ridiculous.
And Cal had 0, and you lost by a touchdown.
You know how hard that is to do?
Yeah. 5 turnovers. Cal had 0. You lost by touchdown. I'll say that.
And that's what's so frustrating is like Auburn was the better team. They just executed like crap on Saturday.
Well, they didn't play as hard. I'm gonna say this. That's the
Cal
other thing
came in and kicked. Yeah,
that's the other thing that's disappointed. I wish I'd have had a second question because I'd asked, why did Cal look more, had more energy, more pumped up, and played harder, in my opinion, than Auburn? That's unacceptable. Can't have that happen.
Yeah. And like I think you saw it from the defense. I think you saw that, especially in the second half, you saw that spark from the defense.
Yes.
Especially from guys like Keldrick Falk. You saw a lot of energy from Malik Blockton, maybe a little too much on that one play that was flagged questionably for roughing the passer. But like you saw dudes on the defensive side of the ball really kind of feed off of feed off of that. But yeah, on the offense, there was just no like level of urgency or excitement or any kind of like wanting to be in the football game, which is obviously super concerning. But to me, the thing that like bums me out is we talked about the excitement of these younger receivers, but like the core of the team are all these veterans. And like you look at Jarquez Hunter, who like the fumble was obviously the worst moment of the game for him. But even like the first play or that first pass that they thought they had a pick six or whatever, it's like you still probably should catch that. You probably should catch that and have the opportunity to make a play on that. But then the one I can't get over is just overall awareness of this football team. And you're talking about Jarquez Hunter, the most like veteran guy on the team, whereas that big run right before halftime where you're setting up you're setting up a drive and like you didn't go out of bounds. And he had the opportunity to, and he chose to cut it upfield. It's like, what are you doing? You wasted a few seconds, a few precious seconds when you finally had an explosive play again. It just, Jarquez to me, and then the other one's Rivaldo Fairweather, which I think he's been really underwhelming so far this season. I mean, we're talking about multiple games now with key drops where you go back and look at it. It's like he dropped the touchdown against Alabama A&M. Was it key or not? I don't know, but like he should have caught that ball. And then the third down one, it's just, some of these guys that are supposed to be the leaders in this room or on this team or on the offense, it's just like they're dropping the ball, literally.
Yeah, I was a little bit disappointed that, we didn't see more Cobb on the jet sweep. He got nothing. Damari Austin looked like he was running hard.
Yeah.
Your playmakers have to make plays. You alluded and touched base quickly on the defense. Look, in the first half, they didn't play the ball. They didn't get their head turned around. Mendoza kept extending plays on third down. They were 6 for 6 on third down conversions before Auburn finally got a stop on third down. He kept extending plays, and Auburn kept playing soft coverage. But then in the second half, Auburn's defense plays a lot better. But we talk about, Zach, how much we love Kayin Lee, how elite he can be.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, you got to make that play. That's a game-changing interception. You're housing it. If you
Auburn
catch a
wins
ball
if he gets that.
It hit him in the chest. It hit him in the chest. Auburn goes the other way, ties it up 14-14. All the momentum. You have a chance to make a game-changing play. You have to make it, and it hit him in the chest, and it fell to the turf. I'm sorry. I'm tired of excuses on that kind of stuff too. You got to step up and start making some plays.
Yeah.
And Keontae Scott, I know in the second half, a lot of times I looked out there. I don't know if there was an injury problem, but Kite was playing the other corner opposite Lee, and Scott wasn't in the game. Could have been an injury, but then he went back there and, fielded a punt. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's a lot of question marks offensively and defensively that need to be answered. But I will say this. If you want to fix the offense and you decide you need to go in a different direction, Saturday's game's the game to do it.
I agree.
If you want to put Hank Brown in the game and see what he does to give him confidence, to ease him in before Arkansas comes into town, this game next Saturday is the game to do it.
There's not another opportunity to do it because after the bye week, it's 2 more road games.
Yeah.
Against Missouri. You go to Missouri, which they'll probably be a top 10 team, top 15 team for sure. And then you go to Kentucky, which I don't think they played well today. I saw people tweeting about that. I don't know much about it. But you can't switch it during the bye week for that reason. And so if you're gonna do it, you got to do it now. But can you do it after one bad game this season? Because it's clear that Freeze isn't thinking about anything that happened last year when it comes to his evaluation of Payton Thorne.
He's considering this year. I will say this: if you don't do it, as far as starting out of the gate, he better be on a really short leash next Saturday. I mean, really short. Like if he comes out and doesn't hit first couple drives for touchdowns, and it stalls. But
he will against New Mexico, right? That's not the issue here.
Well, then you need to go ahead and see what Hank Brown can do against New Mexico.
I don't get the downside of it at this point.
Of course, Arkansas's defense isn't lights out either, so that may be fool's gold as well.
I just think you need to go with upside right now because the whole like argument for Thorne is his floor is higher than everybody else's, but it's like he was the quarterback responsible for an offense had 5 turnovers.
Yep.
And it's the whole like, well, what Coleman should have caught it, or he got hit when he threw. The elite quarterbacks, like they find a way to make sure that doesn't happen. Like to me, it's just I don't get it anymore. And I've been a huge Payton defender with all of this. But this game is the type of game that could impact careers. And I'm talking about coaching.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the players. I'm talking about the Cal side too. I mean, I think it could be good for a lot of these players and coaching careers. So to me, like you've got to bounce back quick. And I think you got to make some changes if you do that. So Darrell, what does this mean for the season? What does this mean for the season? We both said 8-4 going into the year. I find that really, really tough. Let's break that down in just a moment. Right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Ultimate College Head Coach. Very, very. I actually downloaded this app a few days ago.
Could have used it today. Could have used it last night.
No kidding. This game's a lot tougher than I realized. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a lot tougher than I realized. But it's super fun and it's like super, super immersive. You make a ton of decisions. So download the app. It's free. And then use our code in their game store. Just type in the code Locked On CFB and you get access. I mean, you pick on like who guys you want to recruit and who the guys you want to sign in the transfer portal and what kind of offense you want to run. It's super, super fun, Darrell. So highly encourage folks to check it out. Ultimate College Football Head Coach. It's completely free, no ads, and 100% playable offline. Use our code Locked On CFB, all caps, inside the game store. You get a free boost to your program. Download it by going to ultimate-cfb.com, or you can look it up on your phone's app store. Ultimate College Football HC. Darrell, what is this loss, this 21-14 loss to California? What does it mean for the rest of the season? I don't think it's good. I don't think it's good. And just for total transparency, like I've heard from a few folks within the program while we've been recording this, and there is some frustration. There's a lot of frustration here, which I say good, but you've got to figure it out and make a change, or something's gonna be. I don't know. We're just gonna see it again, right? Like. Do you feel confident that Auburn will beat Arkansas in 2 weeks?
Yeah,
you do. You still do.
I don't
Oklahoma?
think no. I mean, see, again, this changes what I feel like the directive or the direction that this season could go, unless Auburn can go sneak and get one on the road somewhere that they weren't supposed to win. I'm not ready to throw out the season after a poor performance. We don't know. I'll say this. I take ownership of stuff. Cal is better than I thought, and Auburn is not as good as I thought. That's real simple for week 2. Auburn is not where I thought they were as far as turning the corner. And I'm not saying Cal's a world beater, but after the UC Davis performance, I thought they were just garbage.
Yeah, I thought they were bad. Like I thought they were a bad football team, and they're not a bad football team.
They're a decent, an average football team. So that being said, I think next week is very, very crucial. I think if you beat Arkansas coming in and you're 3-1, you still can meet some of the goals of your season. But I'm saying that it's going to be more difficult to get to that 8-win plateau with what I saw last night, unless you steal one that you're not supposed to get. That's what it means for me for the season.
So to me, like you look at some of these toss-up games now, which I'm going to call every game that like Auburn should win a toss-up game.
Let me say this too. Notre Dame. Let me give you an example about that. We had Texas A&M. You did, or I did. One of us had that we put down an L. Well, if we could be wrong on the W against Cal, we could be wrong on the loss against Texas A&M. That Texas A&M team got beat by Notre Dame, who just got beat by Northern Illinois. So sometimes it is relative.
Yeah, transitive wins in college football I don't think mean anything, but sure. Maybe. I mean, we don't know. It's still so early. But yeah, like I don't feel as good about Arkansas anymore. I think I know Arkansas lost.
Plays better. I mean, they're better than I thought too. Yeah.
Yeah, that offense, like if our offense can't get off the field, that offense will tire out our defense eventually.
It will.
So like with
I think
Jaquindon
Cal's defense is better than Arkansas's, though.
Yeah, we said consistently that we thought Cal was better than Arkansas, and I still think that that's true.
Right.
But I'm not as confident in that one as I was. I picked Auburn to beat Oklahoma. Right now, I don't like that pick at all. At all. At Georgia, whatever. At Mizzou, I mean, that seems like a pipe dream.
I like the Kentucky game a lot more than I did before Thursday.
Sure. I'm with you there.
And I like the A&M game a lot better than – I'm sorry. I know this I get it, the comparing score stuff, but at some point you still have to look at things as they are and go, all right, well, let's look at big picture. I like us against Kentucky better and probably Texas A&M with the way that the results, and that still gets you to 8 wins. Let's just see what happens. But if you do not change something and get something cleaned up, Auburn will be hard-pressed to win 6 games.
Yeah, I mean, that looked like a 6-6 football team.
It sure did. It looked like a battle of a couple of 6-6 football teams would have looked like.
The thing is, dude, if you don't turn it over 5 times, like Auburn still wins that game.
True. I agree.
Because
they adjusted in the second half defensively and really played a lot better because Cal was having their way in the first half with extending plays and extending possessions. Auburn gave up 1 touchdown in the second half.
I'm just saying, if Cal can fly across the country and beat Auburn and Jordan Hare, so can Arkansas, so can Oklahoma.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, you know, Diego Pavia wants to do it again at Vandy.
Exactly.
And then A&M, they all can do it. They all can do it.
Yep.
All right. Please like the video. Please subscribe. Darrell, how can people check out everything you've got going on?
Follow me on X, Dap6410, Instagram, Darrell Dap. Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sundays with you.
Yes.
And I'll have an article up on the Barn too. Check that out.
thebarnauburn.com. Go subscribe now. It's very, very fun. It's the place to be. Please like the video. Please subscribe. We'll see you next time. This has been Locked On Auburn.